Chime. Good morning, I'm Heather Felton. Is this on? Yes. Okay. A member of your parish committee. We're glad to see you here in person in this beautiful sanctuary or online this morning for joining us in this service. A special welcome to all of our new attendees. Thank you for coming, and come find us afterwards and talk to us. We'd love to engage. Our mission is to build community, search for meaning, deepen our spirituality, and make a better world. To learn more about First Parish or Unitarian Universalism, please visit uuwayland.org or contact Kate Holland, who's the Director of Lifespan Education and Engagement. Please also feel free to reach out to a member of the parish committee or to Reverend Stephanie if you have ideas or questions about First Parish. A very big thanks to all of our service participants whose names can be found in the order of service. Please note that to keep all of us safe, we ask that anyone in person remain masked. Those of us who unmask have tested negative for COVID this morning. Please join me now to greet one another with a wave, including a wave to the camera for everyone who's online. Today we have an announcement about the First Parish yard sale from Barb Hefner, who is online.
Good morning, everyone. I want to start by thanking Linda Collins. I couldn't have done this without her. We were walking across the parking lot after service one morning, and this had to be in late February. I looked back, and the first email exchanges we had were on March 1st. I kind of accosted Linda and said, would you consider teaming up with me to do some sort of mini rummage sale? I knew that Linda was a former rummage queen, and I knew that I needed someone with that kind of experience to really pull this off. So anyway, Linda graciously said, sure, I'll talk about it. And here we are a couple of months later. Also, I want to thank Suzanne Taberry, who was one of the first people who responded really enthusiastically when we sent out that email, sort of exploratory email. I know that what you guys really want to know is how much did we raise? So we raised $6,200 yesterday. And including the sales of furniture that we'd done in advance. We had two major expenses, the police officer. The police officer and the porta potty. So that comes out to $5,736. But we also have some jewelry that we're taking to a jewelry store that seemed rather valuable, and also some valuables that are going to be taken to a dealer or dealers. This was really a group effort. So many people pitched in, particularly during this last week. The fact that so many of you were willing to come out and sell your own wares really made it, just so much more festive and fun. Having the Historical Society there, Jean's Native Plants, the Uganda Project, a fair trade table, it just gave it more of a community feeling. So we're really, really grateful for all your support and for your flexibility in, helping us figure this out as we went. 10% of our proceeds will go to World Central Kitchen as we had promised. So I thank you again, and our service will now begin.
Today the sun is out, the bird song envelops those willing to listen, and rain has washed away the pollen. Count your blessings. Notice the gifts of goodness peppered throughout our days. For the clouds, the setbacks, the heartbreaks, they also come. These also pile up in numbers we wish to forget. So also count your blessings, the belly laughs and bear hugs, the butterflies and puppies, the quiet moments and the memorable celebrations. Count your blessings, all those gifts of goodness that slip into our spirits to refresh, renew, and remind us of the wonder of being alive. In this hour and in those that follow, let us pay attention and be fed by these blessings. I now invite the Cullen family to come forward and light our chalice and lead us in our covenant, the words that define who we are as a community, the promises we make to each other.
Good morning. Please join us as we say together, with open minds and loving hearts, we gather to search for meaning, to care for one another, and to work together for a better world.
Our opening hymn is number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. And rumor has it, it's one of the favorites of Sidney Morrison, which is one of the reasons we snuck it in here today. And if you aren't, I think most of you are familiar, but if you're not, there's a tradition that on Joyful, you go on your tiptoes and add a little oomph. So please rise in body or in spirit to sing together 361.
Good morning. My name is Kate Holland. I'm the Director of Lifespan Education and Engagement here at First Parish, and my pronouns are she, her. So this is a special moment in the life of our congregation. We have so many young people who are graduating and moving to their next adventure. And so just like at coming of age, we enjoy having them come and give us a snapshot of where they are, what this moment in time where they are getting ready to bridge from one place in their lives to another. So some of us, some of the kids that do coming of age with us choose to come up and do a moment, a bridging moment is what we've decided to call it instead of a senior moment, because I have senior moments all the time. It's a different thing. So I'm going to invite Sydney Morrison to come up into our pulpit today and share with us her bridging reflection.
Good morning, everyone. As most of you know, my name is Sydney Morrison, and my family has been coming to First Parish since before I could walk. 2 days ago, I graduated high school, and in less than 4 months, I'll be moving into my dorm at Bowdoin College. This feels surreal to say out loud, as it feels like just a few years ago, I was playing with the toy Noah's Ark in the nursery, attending 5th grade OWL, or completing coming of age. When my mom brought up the idea of completing a senior or a bridging moment, I knew that I had to address this community one more time before I go to college. Last spring, I attended a semester school program in Washington, D.C., called the School for Ethics and Global Leadership, or SEAGL for short. True to its name, SEAGL fostered important conversations about politics and current events. Our semester of 24 students represented a myriad of different perspectives, experiences, and political beliefs, and we worked to learn from our differences. At SEAGL, I found myself very proud to explain Unitarian Universalism to my peers and teachers. At one of our morning assemblies, when it was my turn to choose an inspiration for the day, I read one of Reverend Dr. Stephanie May's sermon talking about love and acceptance. It was fascinating to my peers, the idea of the inherent dignity of every human being. Further, I often brought up the topic of religion with my peers because I was fascinated by the diversity of thought within our semester. One Sunday, a Christian friend and I discussed the intersectionality between religion and politics. I struggled to understand his devotion to God and its influence on his political opinions. So, I organized a Friday night discussion to learn more, splitting our class into small groups. Together, we asked questions about separation of church and state, religious trauma, and connections to a higher power. Later that week, we had the privilege of speaking with Senator Cory Booker. Senator Booker, a proud Christian, has been very vocal about his commitment to faith. So, out of curiosity, I asked him about the influence of faith on his policymaking. He responded that his religion shapes his morals and thus affects every single decision that he makes. Senator Booker's simple yet profound answer has resonated with me ever since. Although I don't know very much about what's to come in the future for me, I am certain that I will remember everything that First Parish has taught me. Like Cory Booker, I know that every decision I make will be influenced by my belief in Unitarian Universalism and my time at First Parish. I feel very lucky to have been raised as a Unitarian Universalist. My peers at SEAGL taught me that not nearly every community flies flags of support for LGBTQ rights or Black Lives Matter. Not nearly every community gets to sing hymns such as Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. And not nearly every community would remember my favorite hymn to put in the order of service when I complete my senior moment. I remember when I was 7 or 8 years old, I discovered the pride flag stickers that First Parish provides to put on name tags. Unknowing of the significance, I covered my name tag in stickers, just because I liked the pretty colors of the rainbow. As I look back on my time at First Parish, I'm so glad that I was raised in a community where I could unknowingly support LGBTQ rights as a 7-year-old. So what I'm here to say is thank you to Mom, Dad, Samantha, and Ryan, to Sunday school and OWL teachers, to Natalie Thompson, to Polly, to Kate, and to Reverend Stephanie. To First Parish, thank you. Thank you for raising me, checking in on me, and caring about me. Thank you for creating a space that values all individuals. Thank you for teaching me about love, kindness, and acceptance. Thank you for everything.
more thing. So before you go, we as a congregation have a gift for you. Come on down. So we want you to remember us and that this is always a place where you can come back to, and we will always care and love for you. So thank you so much. Do you want to open up and show everybody what you got to go? I have to lift it out.
Yes, in there.
It's in there. So we hope that this chalice will move with you where you go, just to remind you of us and the love that we have for you. I can't hug you. Give an elbow bump. Thank you. Now I'm going to invite the choir to sing out our friends to their seat class.
I feel like we could just stop now. Well, blessings. Our middle hymn today is a new one, but we thought it was lovely. So please remain seated and settle into the beauty of number 76, For the Flowers That Bloom Around Our Feet.
Good morning. Our prayer today for the flowers, a blessing for when you're running on fumes, is by author Kate Bowler. She appeals to the idea of God using language that may be heard and understood in different ways. May you hear it in a way that expresses your sense of appeal to an energy and possibility that sustains you. As we prepare for this poem, in the moment of stillness to follow, please join me in taking a breath in and out. And another breath in and out. Sometimes I am paper, thinning at every touch. Responsibilities and duties and errands are wearing me down. There is not enough time or energy or finances or imagination. I hardly recognize myself. I can't keep going, but I can't rest. God, can you help me slow down? I just need a little shelter and a long breath. Give me space to curl up for a while. Hold me until I can feel my shoulders drop and I am freed from what can't happen right now. Let me think only about what is gentle and lovely, what is bountiful and unencumbered on this too heavy day. God, scoop me up into life as it is. Stop me from running ahead so I can be here in this space for the moment and breathe. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Eric Felton. You can tell that by the name tag that I left at home. I'm a lay minister of this congregation. This is a time we set aside in our service to acknowledge the joys and sorrows that we all hold. I'm going to light a candle, and I wish to acknowledge the sorrows that we hold. We grieve both the headlines of more mass shootings this week and the politics that stop action on gun safety laws. We also remember Ukraine as the war extends beyond 100 days. May there be an end to the violence someday soon. I will light a second candle so that we can name the joys that we hold. We celebrate those of our congregation graduating high school this year, including Lex Felton and Sydney Morrison. We are grateful for the joy and success of yesterday's yard sale, as so many worked together. And we are glad that the Celtics won Game 1 and hope for a great series. If you wish, please join us immediately after the service for a time of sharing our joys and sorrows with one another, in person and on Zoom.
Today's service is just fun because we also have the bells now. There is a lot of blessings, and I think that sometimes there's different things that motivate us to give and to share, and sometimes I think it is from the abundance of joy and happiness. So as you're able, please give generously to our offering and in your annual pledges and consider an annual gift. I mean, what do you call it? I'm looking at John. What word am I forgetting? Planned gift. There we go. That's the other big category. So all the many ways that you can share and give and support First Parish so that we're still here Thank you very much, and enjoy the bells.
Good morning. I'm Roger Desforges. Just to clarify, I'm the husband of Ellen Dussourde, whom I think many of you know better than me. Today's reading is an excerpt from After the Good News, Progressive Faith Beyond Optimism by Unitarian Universalist Minister Nancy MacDonald Ladd. In the years leading up to 1914, and then again in the decades following the Second World War, the modernist, progressive, utopian dream taught that the ideals we hold dear can be achieved through the steady advance of moral cultivation, a dedication to learning, and church-based community action. Today, the idea of idealism is not enough. Casual optimism rings hollow, and triumphal, self-assured liturgies leave our broken hearts still yearning for the chance to sing together in a minor key. The people we serve yearn for that too, for an honest word and an opportunity to hold our shared grief and deep personal brokenness together in community on a Sunday morning. We cannot offer the cheap grace of eventual societal perfection in times of systemic desolation. And we cannot sell one another on the idea that it's all going to be just fine in the end. The liberal church is being called to a new way of being, a less self-assured but equally faithful approach to living and serving in these times.
In any given day, I might feel hopeless, grateful, cynical, or optimistic. It's all a bit of a mess, really. I remember a time when it felt different. I remember feeling basically at ease and comfortable in the world. I remember having confidence in the seasons, of when it will likely snow, and how hot it would probably get and when. I remember wondering what career I might have, but not really worrying about whether I would be able to maintain the same standard of living I had always known. And today? Today feels different. Is it because I'm older now, more weathered by the realities of life? Or are things different? Are things worse? I've asked some of you who are older this question. Are things worse now than you have ever seen? I know history has had some pretty hard spots. Our nation was born in revolution and in slavery. A generation was decimated by the losses of life and limb with the Civil War, and later generations were marked for a lifetime by first one World War, then a Great Depression, and another World War. We've seen fights for civil rights for African Americans, for women, for lesbian and gay folks, that created rifts in families, in communities, and in religious congregations like ours. We know this history, and we know the experience of our contemporary moments. These moments of mass shootings that set the US far apart from other developed countries. These moments when democracy is imperiled by lies, distrust, and deep pockets. These moments of pandemic when ideals of pulling together to get through this devolve into divisiveness. And these moments when extreme weather patterns, flooding and drought reinforce the present reality of climate change. These moments when it feels like systemic desolation. I remember when it felt different. Do you? Lately, I've been thinking more about what it means to be a Gen Xer. Born between the larger waves of births in the boomer generation and the millennials, Gen Xers are a smaller middle generation of middle child of generations. We are old enough to remember life before computers, when phones were attached to the wall by cords and cable TV was a brand new idea. We are young enough that we began to learn to use computers and email in school, becoming technologically comfortable early on. In other words, we bridge both the worlds of our boomer parents and our millennial kids or colleagues. Infamously, Gen Xers have been known to be a cynical generation, Ever since we raised ourselves, watched parents get laid off, the price of gasoline skyrocket, and politicians lie in Watergate and Iran-Contra. Rather than accept the nomenclature of cynical, I prefer to think of it as realism. Optimism tempered by the pragmatic. In her 2019 book, After the Good News, Progressive Faith Beyond Optimism, UU minister Nancy MacDonald Ladd, a fellow Gen Xer, wrestles with her own unease with unfettered optimism. She challenges modernist ideals that assure us things will get better through progressive application of reason and hard work. She questions the inheritance of these ideals in the liberal church, including Unitarian Universalism, as adequate to the times in which we now live. Perhaps rather than continuing to have faith in a vision that it's all going to be just fine in the end, we need to confront the present reality that is breaking our hearts and draining our spirits. Perhaps what we need now is an honest word about how much is going wrong and how hard it all is. Reading MacDonald Ladd's book felt like a balm to my weary soul. In these past 2+ years of pandemic, the hardest part for me as a minister has been trying to rise to the idea that I needed to present some kind of assurance each week that it's all going to be just fine in the end. From persistent racism, destabilized democracy, gun violence, to climate change, as a good liberal minister, it has increasingly felt impossible to stand up here and find some version of this optimistic message of learning how we might do our part to make the world right. And frankly, I think you're also tired of being told about this week's problem and being challenged to do something about it. Something about how we've been doing church doesn't feel like it's working anymore. And yesterday's yard sale was marvelous. Coming together in common effort was a joy-filled event. So also during the previous weekend, so many of you came together to support the memorial service for Minister Emeritus Ken Sawyer. There are also so many ways that you care for one another in phone calls, emails, cards, and time shared together. There are the nights you show up for choir or log in to a program. There are resilient threads of connection that tie us to one another in relationship that have not been broken by pandemic or strife. What then is the path forward for the congregation? How does liberal religion stay relevant in a world of struggle and brokenness if our go-to messages of optimistic improvement increasingly ring hollow? What if part of breaking the habit of modernist narratives of optimistic improvement is tossing the expectation of a clearly laid out blueprint for next steps? Because I don't think it's clear what happens next. It's all a bit of a mess, in fact, in case you've not noticed. But you do know this, don't you? You can feel it in yourself, in the news you read, and the fears and anxieties that reside in you, your kids, your grandkids, your colleagues, your younger colleagues. Expectations of relative comfort and future improvement are not as easy to come by as they once were. And it's not all bad news. There are better, greener technologies each year. There are many folks fighting for gun safety laws and organizing to respond to the anticipated rollback of Roe versus Wade. There are also moments of simple pleasures, laughing with friends or family as we once again gather for festive or for everyday shared moments. There are vaccinations, boosters, and all manner of scientific developments. The peonies are still beautiful when they blossom, even if it's earlier than before and too soon for Flower Sunday. There are still an abundance of blessings in our lives. In an online essay about blessings, Maria Popova writes, "Even for the unchurched among us who worship at the altar of reality, blessedness can be a beautiful concept unbaggaged from religion. For me, blessedness is a feeling tone of grateful wonder. That feeling tone can come as a symphonic as a total solar eclipse or as quiet as the rising tide. It can bless with the surprising symbol of a robin's egg out of time and place, or with the murmuration of a moonlit tree. It can bless with Bach. Blessedness need not be the distribution of goodness by an external deity choosing when, how, and to whom to give the good stuff. Blessedness can be attuning ourselves to the goodness that resides within the contours of our living. Blessedness can be a feeling tone that fosters a sense of gratitude and wonder for what is good in life. Because life is both, the goodness and the heartbreak, the joy and the disappointment. Life is lived in this tension of all that we encounter. And sometimes life is just hard and the world is a mess and things may not get better. Sometimes rights are rolled back, democracies die and nations fall. Sometimes things don't turn out all right. In such a world, we need to know how to be relevant to the spiritual needs of people. We need to consider what it is people need now in this moment from communities such as ours. And since the answers are not clear, I suspect our path forward will inevitably be messy. Truthfully, we're already a bit of a mess, which is to say we don't agree on any number of things. One obvious area is the range of comfort folks have around COVID protocols. Thankfully, we've been pretty understanding of each other in this regard. We also don't agree on the use of pronouns. While some folks, including staff, have chosen to include pronouns on name tags or in introductions, a number of you have expressed discomfort or disagreement with this practice, to me or to one another. And there's a bigger conversation we need to have here about gender, inclusivity, and the pace of change. And I'm not going to suggest all the answers today. I'm not going to end this sermon with optimistic assurance that all will be fine in the months and years ahead. Nor can I assure you that you'll always feel comfortable or happy here at First Parish or with Unitarian Universalism. But what I can and will do is share with you my conviction that what we create here together matters to the people in this room and to the people that are yet to walk through our doors. I can and will loudly proclaim my faith in what UU leader Glenn Thomas Rideout calls the gospel of freedom and love. As a congregation and as Unitarian Universalists, we may not have an unblemished past, and we may even have a messy present. but we also have a religious tradition committed to an ongoing search in a context of inclusive love. We also have the ability to attune to blessings that exist even amidst the heartache and the struggle. The path forward, I suspect, must be able to account for this reality, a reality where things don't always turn out all right, but where there is real beauty and goodness and love nonetheless. Our path forward, I suspect, will be learning how to stay connected to each other, even when it's messy and uncertain. My hope is that this path forward of engaging the messy fullness of all the good stuff, the conflict, the heartaches, will be meaningful, if not always easy. For now, we turn towards the rest of this day, to the upcoming week, to a summer of lay-led gatherings after a final celebratory service next Sunday that you won't want to miss. For now, we lean into the resilient connections that sustain us as individuals and as a community. For now, we honestly acknowledge the hard stuff, even as we attune to the blessedness and life all around us. So may it be. Amen. Our closing hymn is one that Lucia Thompson sent me that I think it was her parents' church had sang, If Thoughts and Prayers. It's a new hymn that I think speaks to this moment. And like many new songs, we won't really know it. It will be messy to sing it, and that's okay. So if you're, it's in the order of service, not in the hymnal. And if you're online, if you go to the top of the chat, or maybe Matt can put the link back to the order of service, it's at the bottom of the order of service. You'll see the PDF with the music. So please rise in body and in spirit and sing as you are able. Thank you for being here. I'm starting to think of simply the act of being in person or logging in at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning as an act of resistance to the culture in which we live. To say that we're going to wrestle and we're going to figure out how to stay in relationship and how to live out by values of love and justice and equity. Sustained by our connections to each other and to all that is holy, let us go and be beyond these walls, bringing more light and life, love and justice to our shared world. Amen. If you read my Unitarian article, you read about how we're trying to figure out joys and sorrows.